All right, we're going to start working on worksheet 3.1, identifying pairs of lines and angles. This is where we talk about all our special angle pairs, alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive interior, and corresponding. We're going to start with questions 1 and 2, talking about the diagram on the right, the apartment building, just answering true or false. Number 1, the planes containing the platforms outside of each pair of windows are parallel to the ground. In this question, we're talking about the balconies. Right here on the side, highlighted those blue, and are those parallel? They all go in the same direction. Yes, those are all parallel, horizontal with the ground. Number 2, it says the planes containing the stairs are parallel to each other. The stairs are these guys right here, and they both have the same slant. So that is true. Some people always ask, can we use the ladder that goes down the side? If you do, include the ladder, then you would say false. But I don't think that question is referring to that. The next questions we're going to work on are 5, 6, and 7 here, where we draw the diagram according to this sentence that is described. The thing to do is to make sure that we include the proper markings on our lines. Parallel marks, remember, are where you put the arrow on it. And when lines are perpendicular, that's when you put the little box in the corner. So question 8, or number 5 says, through a line through A, so I'm going to put a dot on A, and it has to go parallel to BC, so parallel to the bottom. For that question, we would go straight across the top, and to show somebody that those are parallel, we would mark them both with a solid arrow, and now you have a pair of parallel lines. Question 6 says a line that has to go through A, so again we're at the top A, and perpendicular to BC. So now we have to be 90 degrees to the bottom. That would go straight down, and to show someone that it's perpendicular, you have to put that little box in the corner, and that's what shows you that you have 90 degrees. The last question, number 7, says that it has to go through B. So now I'm highlighting B green, far on the left, and it has to be perpendicular to BC. So again, we have to be perpendicular to the bottom, so we're going to go straight down. And again, when we have perpendicular lines, we put that little box in the corner, and now we have things that are perpendicular. If you take everything that we just did on 5, 6, and 7, now you do 8, 9, and 10 using the same kinds of markings. Mark that triangle, M and P. Just thinking about this section right here, 16 through 20, they ask us to look at this box on the right and complete the statement with the words parallel, skew, or perpendicular. Remember that those words all have special meaning. If you're not sure, go back to your notes. Parallel things, lines, planes, do not cross, intersect, and they must be on the same plane. When you think about skew lines, those are also lines that do not cross or intersect, but they must be in different planes. That's the important thing about that. Both parallel and skew never intersect, but they are same planes or different planes. And then perpendicular things, remember, intersect at 90 degrees. So go through those questions, trace out your shapes, and you're looking for things that do not intersect on the same plane, do not intersect on different planes, or are 90 degrees to each other. Specifically talking about kinds of angles now, questions 21, 22, and 23, we're going to draw a diagram of each kind of angle, just to help us remember what they are. So for question 21, alternate interior angles, remember they go between two lines with a transversal, and they are the lines that fall between, the angles that fall between the lines, and they must be on different sides of the transversal. Remember that those angles always form a Z. The Z can be forward or it can be flipped around and be backwards. I could do these lines here, and that's a little bit more slanty of a Z, but those are alternate interior angles. A question asks us to label them 1 and 2, so I'm just going to put a 1 here and a 2 here. My alternate interior angles. For question 23 or 22, they're now asking us to do consecutive interior angles. Again, we have our lines, we have our transversal. These are interiors, so they're going to be between the lines, but they are both going to be on the same side of the line. So we're going to call one of these angles angle 3, and one of them angle 4. And remember, consecutive interior angles, when you trace them, they make that C letter. It can be forward or backwards, but it is a C right there. The last one are the alternate exterior angles. These don't have a fancy letter, but the thing is they are outside of the lines. So one could be above the line, the other would be below the lines. Notice that one is on the left and one is on the right. The question asks us to label them angles 5 and 6. So I'm going to put those right there. They don't have a letter that they make, but they are always outside the lines. If we move on now to question 24 and 25, this whole chunk, we're going to be using the same ideas that we just talked about above. So when you're looking at these, remember that you want to just focus on the question or the angles that they ask about. For question 24, they want angle 1 and angle 9. So in this case, you would ignore everything at the right-hand side of the diagram, and you'll notice both of those angles are to the left of the transversal and above their corresponding lines, and if you look more closely, they actually make an F. Those are corresponding angles. Now I'm going to erase this mark I have on the other side here because we're going to need those. Question 25 asks about angles 8 and 13. And so now I would cover up that with my hand. And I notice that 8 and 13 make a C between those two. That makes those consecutive interior angles. So you want to continue on with those questions. Remember to cover up the part of the picture that's not needed because you're only describing 2 angles at a time. The last 2 questions at the bottom of the page now are referring to this diagram. The thing that we want to focus on are the markings in the diagram. So question number 29 asks about parallel lines, and remember parallel lines are marked with the arrows, so we have to look for the lines that have the arrows on the lines. And here I see 2 arrows, so to name those 2 lines, it takes 2 letters. So I'm going to say that OL line is parallel to PM. Marking them with arrows on top, those are my parallel lines. Question 30 asks about perpendicular lines. Remember, perpendicular lines are the ones that have the little box in the corner. So I look at my diagram and here's my little box. Be careful here, that box only goes to this line. So those are my parallel lines, or excuse me, perpendicular lines. I'm going to name that VN, perpendicular, upside down T, perpendicular to TR. Remember, picking 2 points on the line. It doesn't matter the order. Just need 2 points. Continue on with the next two. Decide if you know if those lines are parallel or perpendicular. Good luck. See you tomorrow in class.